Muito bem, vamos passar então para a terceira parte aqui da nossa entrevista com o Klaus. So, Klaus, during the last 20 years, you have created more or less 13 games. But there are some authors, German authors and others, that during the same period have created much more. So my question is, your published games during the last 20 years, they are in accord with your expectations, or you would like to have much more games published?
No, I do the games up to that point. I like them, and I would say now it's fine, and I like it. If that like other people, I don't know. But I'm not such a fast worker. I need sometimes 2 or 3 years for a game, and now I work parallel on several games, and around 10 or so are now finished or nearly finished, and 4 games will appear next year. So I do it more parallel, but before it was so I could only work on 1 game or maybe 2, and it lasted a year or 2, and then they were finished. And that's the reason, because there are not so many games.
Okay, and there are something that you have a focus in your website and in your games, it's the families. Why for you it's so important to create games for families?
Because it's my own history. I was in a family, and we didn't play so much, but later I saw by coincidence, there are such many fantastic games. And I think there are many people who don't know still that they maybe would like to play really much, but they didn't play. So I try to focus more on families and players who don't play so much, so they could be infected with playing and gaming as well, like me.
Okay, so now I understand better this importance. And another question, interesting. Imagine that your games are your children. Do you think, for example, that all the other games except Carcassonne felt a little bit jealous from the Carcassonne fame of success?
Or yeah, no? I think so. Yeah. But it was not my target, so it happened. So, but some games are they are published, but then after a year nobody knows them. So very difficult, because so many games are on the market, and it's really difficult to have such product like Carcassonne. So I have to be really happy with this game.
So you felt a little, and you felt a little bit
Carcassonne like is a brother and sister. So,
but you yourself, like game designer, do you felt a little bit like closed by the game? It means that you cannot be free, completely free, or no? You don't feel like that?
Yeah, that's difficult. Sometimes you don't feel free because you have ideas, and sometimes you are too close to them, and you think, oh, I already worked a year on it, and it has to be better and better. But sometimes it's better to let it go and to focus on something other. But that's the same in life. So games are always like life, I think. Here as well.
So since 2006, we have the Carcassonne World Championship in Essen, in Germany. And what kind of importance do you think that event have for the visibility of the game for the entire world?
Oh, I don't know. That depends on the publishers and the medias in the countries, or what they make of it. I think it has an influence, but it's not maybe the most biggest part. But but I like these events really, really much. And also in Essen, if all people come from all the world are excited and nervous and want to win, and that's a very special atmosphere. And I like this really much, and I always goes really to my heart if I see these people have the passion and they come here from all around the world and play Carcassonne and like it really much, and that really goes to my heart.
And so another question is about can you show us in a simple way your day by day, like a game designer, game developer, how it was your day, your work day? You wake up at 8, for example, you start to create something, or it depends, each day is a different day?
No, each day is a different day. Most days are too much things around. So as well today that there are, I have to go with my car to anywhere and make there's something broken and do this and that, and this is too much for my. I would like to create the whole day, but it's not possible, and most days are other.
Oh, okay.
But if I have time, I wake up at 8 o'clock. And I start with emails, and so it's a lot to do with emails and these, and then work up to around 12 or 1, and then I take a break and take then breakfast after some hours. Take breakfast in the midday, and then work again. And mostly I make some sports in the evening or so, or afternoon, and then depends on a little bit today, but normally I start with emails and these things.
Okay. And you said in a recent interview that during a week in the year you go to Mallorca, I think, for retirement, for just to developing the games. Is just about Carcassonne, or is about all your games that you are developing?
No, that's the meeting with with Hans im Glück, and we just work on Carcassonne, and maybe a little bit in the evening we play everything. We play code names and such things, but during the day we work really at the projects we plan to make.
Okay. So our final question is about like a question about all these 20 years. So in 20 years, there is a Klaus in 2000 and there is a Klaus in 2020. What I'd like to ask is what changes the game designer Klaus have made since the beginning? What, for example, what details now you have more attention than in the beginning of your this path?
Just from the game designer aspect, or
yes, especially game designing, yes, like a game designer.
Yeah, as a game designer, I think I have much more familiar with all mechanisms and so, and more repertoire to invent and to change. And so at the beginning, it's a little bit, you have an idea, but you don't know how shall I bring this into the game and change it. Oh, there's a problem. Oh, what can I do? And today I have much more experience, I think.
Okay.
But I missed. And I have much more experience. And today I know, oh, there's a problem, and then I have to do this or this. And always you need new ideas and fresh ideas in between. And I go into the sauna, and then maybe it's a good idea, and I can try it out and work on it. But it's always a lot of work. So mostly you see the last product, but one time I did it in the game Pompeii, Downfall of Pompeii, and there were 270 different versions of it. I wrote down. Normally I don't write down the versions, but there are a lot of versions up to that point. I really liked it, and I thought, oh, there's no problem anymore, and I like this game as it is.
So you like the perfection of the thing, to work in a way that you have a good result at the end.
Yeah.
Okay. And about your personality, do you think everything changed in these 20 years, or you are the same Klaus like in 2000?
Oh, you are never the same Klaus. No, I'm different, I think, but I would say I feel like in 2000, and I don't feel older. I feel like that time, but as I said, there's much more experience, and also in personality, you are you grow up with some things, and sometimes you are more peaceful and not so. It has to be so. So maybe you learn to arrange with some things. So it's also life. You also have to arrange.
Okay. Okay. So Klaus, that's it. I think I really appreciate your possibility to answer our question. It's for us, it's perfect. Really, thanks, and congratulations for this for all your work, and to make something that changed our lives, because really Carcassonne have changed my life and my family life for sure, but also the lives of many people. So really thanks for your work. Okay?
It really goes into my heart. So.
Okay, and we
Thank
really
you so
hope,
much.
please, if you have time, please, if you really have time, came to Portugal. Okay, it was a pleasure to receive you here. Okay,
I would like, if it with Corona and COVID is over, okay, I will think about and try to do it.
For sure, I will go to Essen next year for sure. So if he's not here, I try to meet you in Essen next year for sure.
We will meet. Definitely.
Okay, Klaus, really thanks, and we'll see you next
in another opportunity. Yeah. And if you have more questions, just write me, then I can write down, or if you need something more.
Okay,
you're welcome.
Okay, really thanks, Klaus. Okay. Really thanks. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good day.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.